We'll now do the morning bell chant. It will be the loose leaf page, or one of the loose leaf pages in your chant book. It's the one entitled Lojong Meditation. Please feel free to chant along or follow along silently, however you prefer. By thinking of all sentient beings as more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, for accomplishing the highest aim, I will always hold them dear. Whenever I'm in the company of others, I will regard myself as the lowest among all, and from the depths of my heart cherish others as supreme. In my every action, I will watch my mind, and the moment destructive emotions arise, I will confront them strongly and avert them, since they will hurt both me and others. Whenever I see ill-natured beings or those overwhelmed by heavy misdeeds or suffering, I will cherish them as something rare, as though I'd found a priceless treasure. Whenever someone out of envy does me wrong by attacking or belittling me, I will take defeat upon myself and give the victory to others. Even when someone I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me very unjustly, I will view that person as a true spiritual teacher. In brief, directly or indirectly, I will offer help and happiness to all my mothers and secretly take upon myself all their hurt and suffering. I will will learn to keep all these practices untainted by thoughts of the 8 worldly concerns. May I recognize all things as like illusions without attachment, gain freedom from bondage. We will now continue to observe noble silence. to express my gratitude for our volunteers lighting the incense this morning. I invite you forward. The incense offering is a loose leaf paper in your chant book. You move it out. Feel free to follow or chant along. Together we say, in
gratitude, we offer this incense throughout our space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding, slowly ripening. May we and all beings be canons of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home.
Welcome, everyone. It's so good to see everyone's smiling faces on this beautiful sunny day. I'd like to begin with a few courtesy announcements. I don't see any small children today, but if you feel the need to go downstairs, we have one restroom downstairs. There's 2 restrooms around the corner. Feel free to use them at any time. Just try to be mindful of your neighbor. There's also a water fountain and cups downstairs. If you find the need to rearrange seats for meditation, if you'd like to get on a chair or vice versa, feel free. And remind you not to walk in front of the dais if you could, out of respect, and just walk around the back. We appreciate that. And then we chant in an upbeat tempo, and we want to bring life into the Sangha. So with a smile on your face, and try not to chant too loudly or too quietly. And if you don't feel comfortable chanting, just do what you feel comfortable doing. So with that, we will begin by standing and greeting one another. We will chant the 3 refuges, which is located on page 7 of your chant books. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I'm aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Turn to the next page, page 8. We will chant the Heart Sutra. Dhamma Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of Prajna Paramita perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight, no realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, ara gate, ara samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, ara gate, ara samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, ara gate, ara samgate, bodhisvaha. Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. Please be seated. Thank you. Welcome again, everyone. My name is Shane. My Dharma name, which some of you may remember as Gaji-su, but I have sat with it for some time and decided to revert to my original Dharma name, the Dharma name that my teacher Hung Su gave me, Juéxīn, spelled Juexin. Like phonetically, it's like Juéxīn, but pronounced Juén. It'll be a bit of a change, but today I'm honoring my teacher Hung Su. Some of you may know him, some of you may not, but he was foundational for me to get to where I'm at here. And in the tradition of Hung Su, the Tega order, he would wear these yellow robes. So I don't normally wear these, but when giving the talk, so I look a bit different than the normal gray or just the brown robe. So a little bit different. Also, traditionally, he would always talk about the Heart Sutra, especially with people who are new, because there's a lot of wording in there that can be a little confusing or not make a lot of sense. Maha just means great. Prajna is wisdom. Paramita is perfection of. So, and then Hadraya, it's hard for me to pronounce it myself, is heart. So the great perfection of wisdom, heart sutra or teaching. And it's given by a bodhisattva. And a bodhisattva is a being, someone who is deciding to, they can get to enlightenment, or they can go on to the next, whatever's next, but they decide to come back to this world and to help other beings until everyone is awake, everyone is enlightened. So the Bodhisattva of compassion, Kuan Yin, or Avalokiteshvara, we have over here in this gold statue, the green statue over there. She, they, he, it's different in different traditions. They are extremely compassionate, and they are giving this teaching to Shariputra. Shariputra is one of the Buddha's most wise students. So that kind of shows that you need to have compassion with wisdom, two wings of a bird. Without one, you won't be able to fly. So you have to have both compassion and wisdom. And then just kind of going to the very bottom here, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. A rough translation is gone, gone beyond the beyond, awake. Woohoo! So I really that is a good good awakening. And today, actually, I'm giving the talk entitled Siddhartha and the Swan. Well, the very first time I came into this temple, I didn't know too much about Buddhism, but I started doing meditation, and I was looking up where to go for a Buddhist temple in Grand Rapids, and this place showed up. I didn't even know there was a back door during the time that was before COVID, so we had a front entrance open too. So I came in the front, and Hung Su was greeting, and he was wearing his yellows, and he was very kind and very welcoming. And I told him it was my first time here. And he said, just so you know, we don't worship the Buddha. And I knew a little bit about that, but if anyone knows, the Buddha, we reverent as a teacher, but there is no worship. There's no, it's a non-theistic religion. So I told him, yeah, I know we don't worship. And then he told me about bowing. We bow as a sign of respect. It's not a thing of worship or anything like that. And he told me if I feel comfortable bowing, I can, but you don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with, which really made me feel comfortable. So, and coming in here, smelling the incense and everything, it was just like coming home. So I sit down somewhere in those cushions over there. I'm a little timid. And then he takes out this children's book, this very one. He let me borrow it 3 years ago. I still need to return it, but he read from this book an excerpt called Siddhartha and the Swan. I was hoping we'd have some children in the service today. We usually do, but we can all learn from children's stories. And it really is a great teaching. So I'm going to read the excerpt from this book and show you the pictures, because there's some really nice pictures in here. The kind prince. While the new baby was very young, his mother, Queen Maya, died. Shortly before she passed away, the queen said to her sister, "Soon I shall not be able to take care of my baby anymore. Dear sister, after I have gone, please look after Siddhartha for me." And there's Queen Maya and her sister at her bed. And for anyone who doesn't know, Siddhartha was the Buddha before he was enlightened. So that was just his life before he attained enlightenment or realized it. Her sister promised that she would. She loved the little prince very much and brought him up as if it was her own child. The prince grew into a bright, handsome, kind-hearted boy. His father, the king, arranged for him to be educated by the best teachers in the kingdom. And very quickly, he showed his remarkable intelligence. After the first few days of classes, the teachers reported to the king, "Your Majesty," they said, "the prince does not need us anymore. After only a few lessons, he has learned everything we have to teach him. In fact, he's taught us a few things that we didn't even know ourselves." Hearing this, the king was very the king's pride in his son grew even greater. "With his intelligence, my son will certainly grow to be a wise and powerful king," he thought, and this made the king very happy. But there was something else about this boy that was even more remarkable than his intelligence. He had a very kind, gentle, loving nature. The rest of his young playmates enjoyed the rough and tumble games of small children, or pretended they were soldiers and fought with one another. But Prince Siddhartha quietly spent most of his time alone. He loved the small animals and lived in the palace gardens and became friendly with them all. And there he is with his ant, little rainbow around his head. Very colorful. The animals knew that the prince would never hurt them, so they were not afraid of him. Even the wild animals who would run away if anyone else came to greet the prince when he entered the garden. They approached him fearlessly and ate from his hand the food that he always brought for them. One day, as the prince was sitting in the garden, a flock of white swans flew overhead. Suddenly, an arrow shot up, striking one of them, and it fell out of the sky and landed at the prince's feet. The arrow still stuck into its wing. "Oh, you poor swan," Siddhartha whispered as he gently picked it up, the wounded bird. "Do not be afraid. I shall take care of you. Here, let me remove this arrow." Then, with one hand, he gently stroked the bird, calming its fear. With his other hand, he slowly pulled out the painful arrow. The prince was carrying a special lotion with him and softly rubbed it into the bird's wings, all the time speaking in a low and pleasant voice, so that the swan would not become afraid. Finally, he took off his silk shirt and wrapped it around the bird to keep it warm. After a short time, another boy came running along into the garden. It was the prince's cousin, Devadatta. He was carrying a bow and some arrows, and he was very excited. And for that scene, here's the teachers talking to the king and telling him how great Siddhartha was as a student. And Siddhartha holding the swan. So as Devadatta comes, he says, "Siddhartha, Siddhartha," he shouted. "Great news! I got a swan. You should have seen me. I hit it with my very first shot. It fell down somewhere near here. Help me look for it." Then Devadatta noticed one of his arrows with blood still on its tip, lying on the ground near Siddhartha's feet. Looking closer, he saw that the prince was holding something in his arms, and he realized it was a swan he was searching for. "Hey, you took my swan," he yelled. "Give it back to me." I shot it, and it's mine. Davidata grabbed at the bird, but the prince held on to it, keeping it away from his angry cousin from even touching the injured creature. I found this bird lying here bleeding, the prince said firmly, and I don't plan to give it to anyone while it's still wounded. But it's mine, shouted Davidata. I shot it fair and square, and you've stolen it from me. Give it back or I'll take it back. The two boys stood there arguing like this for some time, Davidata getting angrier and angrier, but Siddhartha refused to give him the swan. Finally, the prince said, when two grown-ups have a quarrel like this, they settle it in court, in front of a group of wise people. Each one explains the story of what happened, and the wise people decide who is right. I think you and I should do the same. Here's Davidata and Siddhartha in the garden. I don't know if YouTube can see it. Davidata did not like that idea very much, but because it was the only way he could ever get the swan back, he agreed. So the two of them went to the palace and appeared in front of the king and his ministers. The people at court smiled at each other when they heard that these two children wanted. To think, they said, they want to waste our time over a mere bird. But the king said, both Siddhartha and Davidata are royal princes, and I am glad they brought their quarrel to us. I think it is very important that the future rulers, that they become used to the way of this court. Let the trial begin. So in turn, each of the boys described what happened. Then the ministers tried to decide which boy was right and should therefore have the swan. Some thought Davidata shot the bird, therefore it should belong to him. Others thought Siddhartha found the swan, therefore it should belong to him. And for a long time, these ministers talked and argued about the case. Who do you think the swan should go to? I was going to ask the children but we all are children at heart. So, finally, a wise man came into the court, very old, who they never remembered seeing before. But because he looked so wise, they told him the story of the boys and their swan. After listening to what they had to say, he declared, everyone values his or her life more than anything in the world. Therefore, I think the swan belongs to the person who tried to save its life, not to the person who tried to take it away. Give the swan to Siddhartha. And you can see the old man, the wise man with Siddhartha, and them in the court. Everyone agreed with the wise man. What he had said was true, so they decided to let the prince keep the swan. Later, when the king tried to find this old man and reward him for his wisdom, he was nowhere to be found. This is very strange, the king thought. I wonder where he came from and where he went. But no one knew. This was just one of the many unusual things that happened concerning the prince. So many people thought this to be a very special child indeed. And the last picture of this story has Siddhartha holding the swan. So yeah, children's book, children's wisdom. The story may be a little embellished, but I think the knowing what actually happened, the moral of the story is what really matters. And I just find it incredible how the young Siddhartha had so much compassion in his heart for a bird, and how the ministers thought that it was absurd that they would bring it to court. But in reality, he was being very responsible at such a young age, and seeing that you can't just hunt and kill and take. Davidata, his cousin, thought because he shot the animal, it belonged to him. He was clouded with his delusion, with entitlement. He was greedy to get his hands on the swan, and he thought he deserved it because he shot it. But when he didn't get his way, he got angry. It just swelled up within him. And you can see the three poisons in all forms of life: delusion, greed, anger. And we can see them in our own lives. They truly cause suffering in us. This wholesome practice gives us an antidote to these poisons. The Buddha asks us to save, to nurture, to give. And at the end of the day, the wise old man said the young prince deserves to keep the swan, not to own it, but to be its protector, its guardian, to nurture and save its precious life, which we all deserve. That is what I personally get out of the story, at least. Everyone has their own takeaway. It reminds me of my own story of when I saved a being who happened to be a little kitten. He was outside. This was years, about 2020. And I noticed him in the alleyway, a little kitten, I'm not sure, maybe 3 or 4 months old. And I already named him, even though I didn't know who he belonged to but I called him Orion because he had 3 little dots on his nose, like the constellation. And I was looking around one day because I'm like, we can't, in our lease, we couldn't have pets. So I was kind of asked for forgiveness rather than permission. But I did my due diligence when I took him in. I went to the vet to see if he had a chip, which he did not. He had not been neutered. So I had to put him on a website to see, like, hey, if anyone's looking for a lost cat, because he was very friendly. I didn't think he was an alley kitten, but I saw him running around with all the other alley cats right off Lion and Eastern area. So lots of alley cats over that way. But I posted him online. One person did say, hey, that kind of looks familiar. And we brought him to that person. And I was a little like, well, I wanted to be home, but I really also want to take care of him. It ended up not being the cat they were looking for. So I was able to get a little bit of relief. And he may have not been wounded, but he was so small. And later I find out that he was let out. It was very odd circumstances because looking everywhere, it happened to be my downstairs neighbor, their cat, that they decided they couldn't take care of anymore. So they just let him out. And when they saw them, they said, oh my goodness, we thought he died. And I was like, well, I'm glad I took him. So I gave him all of his shots and got him clipped and everything, chipped. And so he's been living with me ever since. Little Orion, he cuddles me every morning. And I see myself as a guardian, because at the end of the day, we don't own anything, even our pets, even our land. We just have to be a guardian of them. And it's just really, I hold that this story and the reminder of anytime I get a chance to help anybody, whether it be an animal or a person, just to take that opportunity as practice of dana, giving, and receiving, and it's really important to remember. And when it comes to pets, that we don't truly own anything in this life. We're merely passing through. This teaching of impermanence shines through here. This moment right now is to be cherished and not to be taken for granted. And to think of something as mine, especially as an animal, I think can be inappropriate from my point of view. It's unusual to say that you own your child. A lot of us think that owning our pet, but changing that thought to word or guardian can be important in determining our relationship with them. Words hold a lot of value. The intention behind these words are important. And if we can think of ourselves as guardians of all lives, whether It's our family, our pets, wildlife. We can't forget about even ourselves, to be guardians to ourselves. All beings, from humans to swans, even bugs, are precious lives. The Buddha taught that life is precious, especially in the first precept to respect and protect life. In chapter 10 of the Dhammapada, in verses 129 and 130, the Buddha expounds this teaching very simply. All tremble at violence, all fear death. Putting oneself in the place of another, one should not kill nor cause another to kill. All tremble at violence. Life is dear to all. Putting oneself in the place of another, one should not kill nor cause another to kill. To save a life, to really help, is paramount. Compassion and loving kindness are the forefront of the Buddhist teachings. And this story so beautifully represents that. Even though it's a children's book, I still cherish this story to this very day, and that is why I wanted to share it with all of you. And I wanted to dedicate this talk to Hung Su, my teacher, who had stepped away from the temple after having a stroke. He's doing well now, but I just hope we can all hold him in our hearts and send him all healing and love and kindness. And as we prepare for meditation, I'd like to give us a few simple instructions in case you're new to meditation, or a little bit of instruction never hurts. So if you're on a chair, you want to have your feet flat on the ground. You want to have your back straight up as if a string is being pulled. And if you're on a cushion, you can have your legs crossed in front of you. Your arms can go either on your knees or in your lap. And then you want to be upright, but not uptight. So just that middle ground, the middle way. Strong back, soft front. And as we sit here, meditation is not to empty our mind or get rid of thoughts. It's impossible, especially with someone like ADHD, myself. But to observe them, be like a mountain, and the clouds are your thoughts where they come, and you see them and you say, oh, I'm thinking, and you come back to your breath and just label them thinking. So every time you get lost in thought, don't judge yourself. Don't judge that. Don't judge the judging. That's a vicious cycle. Just come back to your breath. And we will start with 3 sounds of the bell and end with 3 sounds of the bell. And from there, prepare yourselves for meditation.
And we bow. Thanks for practicing with me, everyone. At this time, we will do our joys and concerns. Joys and concerns are just a way of sharing ourselves with our Sangha, our community, where we can hold space for awesome things or for things that we need to be held in our heart for difficult times. So if anyone would like to start, you can open the floor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I feel a joy for the sentient beings in my life, including my sweet cat, Harriet, who I'd like to give a shout out to right now. Thank you for the Swan story.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chungo Su. I was able to talk with my mom for like 2 hours, which was pretty nice. And I think for the first time about Buddhism in a pretty deep way, which was really I'm grateful for that. She has a different set of beliefs, but we had just a really tender conversation. It was awesome.
I'll share joy. Again, my name is Shane or Juéxīn. I'm grateful for Hung Su, my teacher, and for this space. And I just really, this place has saved myself from myself. So I'm so grateful that we can continue to gather as a Sangha and to hear the teachings of the Buddha. And it warms my heart. Peyton, do we have anything online? There's one online.
Ben Rudy says he is recovering from a surgery and glad to be joining us all this week.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we will hold those joys and concerns in our heart in a moment of silence. Now, any temple-related announcements?
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ellen. In our practice, the word dana means generosity. And that's how we keep the wheels on this bus going round and round. So we appreciate whatever you can do for the temple. As far as donating your time, you're here. Thank you for that. If you'd like to help with the tech team, be a greeter at the door, help set up and tear down after potlucks, that's a wonderful thing. We appreciate that as well. Material goods. Before you show up at the temple with a truckload of toilet paper, please check with Nikki, who's not here today, but she's usually attached to that guy. And we have limited space. So whenever we're in need of tea bags or toilet paper, paper towels, she's the gal to touch base with. Monetary donations are, we're very grateful for those as well. We have Dana boxes at both ends of the temple. Actually, there's one at the bottom of the stairs too. They each have a QR code, which will take you directly to PayPal. You can make a one-time donation. You can set it up monthly. If you're watching via YouTube this morning, there's also a drop-down menu that will also take you to PayPal. The third way is through our website, zengr.org, which I understand is under construction right now. I heard we're getting a pool. So when the construction's done and the website's back up, there's also a donation button there. So easy peasy. Thank you very much.
Lemon squeezy. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah.
My name is Nasan Skara. I wanted to say, since Ellen had mentioned, since she'd given the Donna announcement, I wanted to again express my gratitude for everyone who does anything for the temple and ultimately for the Sangha. I'm very grateful for you all. There is a sign-up sheet for some of these things that you might be able to help with. Being a greeter, helping set up beforehand, helping to clean in the temple, helping to light the incense. These are all things that one could sign up for on the sign-up sheet. And if this interests you, or if you just are interested in learning about lighting incense or greeting, or maybe why we do that and how you might be able to help if you're interested in that, please come and see me at any time. Just pull me aside when I have a moment. I'd be happy to talk with you about that. Thank you.
And it's the end of February, but I'll give a few of the announcements that are still pertinent. We have a online meditation group that meets every Wednesday via Zoom from 7 to 7:45 p.m. And you can contact Reverend Kunga Nima for more information. We have a Thursday morning discussion group, which is very wonderful, from 9:30 to 11 a.m. Meets here at the temple downstairs. And right now we're going through The Art of Living. Thank you. The Art of Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's and exploring the different bodies. It's very interesting. So I invite you, if you have time on Thursday mornings, to come down. If you want any more information or to get part of the email list, you can email Reverend Jingsu Ryan Delfeld for more information. We also have Buddhist-based recovery meetings here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Monday night at 6:30 p.m. is the meditation, and the meeting starts at 7. And usually we have so many people, we have to hold it upstairs. And Wednesdays, we're at the Lano Club from 6:30 p.m. for meditation, and then 7 o'clock is the meeting, which I believe is in room 4, but they may have changed. And Friday mornings from 10:05 a.m. here at the temple, we have meditation, and then at 10:30 the meeting begins. If you have any questions, you can ask myself, or you can find. Fortunately, our website is still down, so any other information you can find on our social media, Facebook or Instagram. And then hopefully we won't have any more winter storms, but in the event we do, we got to be prepared. So if you'll see an e-letter or a post on our social media platforms if we cancel the in-person service. But since we have the wonderful service of Zoom, we will still have service, but it'll just be online. I think that's about it. Is there any other temple-related announcements? If not, we will end by standing and doing our closing gathas on page 9. And in the tradition of Kung Su, we would recite them 3 times each before we go to the next one. So we'll do that today. It'll be a little different, but
Together we say, for all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. For all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. I vow to you. We vow to each other. Thank you so much, everyone. I would appreciate it if you could put your cushions back better than you found them. You can put your inserts back into the pages. We have hot tea downstairs. I welcome everyone to join us. If you have any questions, you can ask anybody in grade or me. We are always happy to help. So, thank you again. Yes, have a great week.